Alrighty, and let me figure out how to share my screen.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Well, Marita's doing her technical side. I just want to welcome everyone. Super excited talking consistency today with Coach Marita. And I would say Marita is incredible with mindset for clients. And so I'm super excited to just get to learn from you on this topic. I have already learned a lot from you on this topic. So
Cool. And
dive
it's
right.
it's like some of my favorites because I've spent the time to get the higher level education, but if we can't be consistent with basics or just master the basics, like it doesn't matter what I know about the thyroid or the gut or whatever, like it doesn't matter.
Right.
But yeah, and consistency is a big one. And I think it's something that like for the longest, I thought there was something like everyone had, and really, like no one has a superpower. No one has like the handbook. Those who are successful are just consistent, and a lot of us feel like we're stuck in this cycle of like starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And realistically, why do we even expect ourselves to be perfect with something we've never done before? And it's interesting that like right out the gate we expect to be perfect, right? And I'm sure if you look back on life, there's nothing when you first started that you were like, I've got this. Like this is mastered. Um, but and inconsistency, it doesn't mean that we're weak or lazy. It just kind of means that our brain is doing what it's designed to do. And when I truly understood that, I was able to start mastering so many things in life. And I would I was in that same cycle. I would stop Monday, like Monday, let's just start over again. I would try this thing, that thing. And realistically, I didn't understand that my brain just wanted to be safe. And that's what it is. Like consistency isn't a personality trait. People don't have more of it. It's really a skill, and we just have to learn to build that with the right tools and the right breakdown or the right mindset around consistency. And so our brain truly resists change. It is built to resist change because if it doesn't know the outcome, it's going to think the outcome is death, essentially. Like if it can't predict what's going to happen, it thinks something's going to happen to our survival. So our brain really just craves comfort, not change. And it's our brain's ability just to keep us alive, not to help us crush goals, not to help us grow, not to help us evolve. It's wired for predictability. And so when we start a new habit, like workouts, like protein tracking, like eating more vegetables, our brain literally goes, this feels weird. This is not for me. I'm out. And it's survival, not sabotage. Um, we want instant gratification every single time. So it's the scrolling, the snacking, the skipping workouts. And it's not because you suck or you're lazy. It's just our brain is chasing quick dopamine. It doesn't want to have to work for it because why would it? Like it's easier to not work for it. However, we can train that. Decision fatigue is a real thing. And as working women with children, most of us, like we make 1,000 decisions throughout the day. And having to think of when we're going to get workout in, when am I going to get these steps? When am I going to make this food? When am I going to track this food? It feels impossible. And so having pre-made plans for those kind of things really helps save energy and it just becomes an easier part of our day. Um, this was a big one for me, still holding on to our old identities. If you say, like, I'm someone who doesn't get up in the morning, well, then you're never going to get up in the morning to get in your workout. If you still identify as someone who struggles with the weekends, doesn't, follow through with your plans for yourself, your goals for yourself, or not even the goals, just the habits or the protocols you put in place, you're going to consistently find yourself falling short in those areas. And so it's whoever you want to be down the road, we have to show up as her. And obviously it's not just going to, I decide that I'm going to be that way, but it's a matter of talking to ourselves rather than listening to ourselves when it comes to rewiring our identity. And stress short circuits all of our best intentions. We get overwhelmed and the rational part of our brain takes a back seat and we just go into survival mode. And it's easier to almost feel like we're hibernating or hunkering down as a person. And consistency thrives when our nervous system feels safe. Like we can't be stressed out, feel like something is impeding on our survival at a nervous system level, be in fight or flight all day, and then expect to add in new habits and feel like we're going to thrive at that in any capacity. Um, And realistically, like consistency isn't perfection. Consistency is honesty with ourselves at the level at which you can take it at that moment. And so it's like 90% is 27 days of the month, 80% is 24 days, 70% is 21 days. And so it's like, okay, maybe I'm being 50% consistent. Let me aim for 60% and kind of stack from there. Um, and realistically, like if we start small when it comes to consistency, it's a heck of a lot easier. We just focus on one or two small habits, and not try and overhaul everything at once and just adding more stress to ourselves. I think there's also a space of like naming the patterns that derail ourselves. Is it the all or nothing? Is it you're trying to do too much? You're trying to let your ego run the show. You're not starting small with your commitments. Um, Not having a why behind what you're doing, little to no systems, these kind of things like it it's hard to see the bigger picture and it's hard to get past the current identity and it's hard to get past the oh my goodness, I can't think of the word that I'm thinking of. The hurdle, if you can't identify what your problem is that's derailing you around said hurdle. One of the biggest things I tell clients to do is to schedule workouts in advance and write them down like appointments. Like we don't want to say we're going to go to the gym later because later never happens. Oh, I'll go in the afternoon. But if you're like, okay, 1:30, I'm going to be at the gym, come hell or high water, you're going to be at the gym. And maybe, at first we just wander around and we get an idea of where everything is and we don't overwhelm ourselves with this. Okay, now I'm in this new place, moving my body in a new way, doing something I've never done before. That's a lot of news on your nervous system. So just consistently showing up to the gym, maybe for the first week, hopping on the treadmill, scoping out the gym, seeing what's going on will make you feel a lot safer in that environment and feel like you want to, okay, now maybe I'm going to try a leg press. Or that's always my theory is the leg press theory. If you go to the gym and you're really not feeling like it, you're really feeling like you want to skip your workout. I'm like, why don't you just go do leg press for a little bit? Just crank out a few leg press. It's a nice, easy thing. You can sit down. And if you know what, you do 4 sets of leg press, you still don't want to do it, go home. And then, you still showed up for yourself. And I think
One
also really, sorry.
one thought I had with that because I think I've been lifting for so long now that sometimes I forget about that feeling that I have had many times, right? From either starting at the gym or I did CrossFit forever and then went back to a commercial gym and it was just as intimidating being like, okay, what machines am I supposed to use here? Where is everything? I feel like just a dork not knowing how to use certain things and I just like asked questions and figured it out and you push through that and you end up
Mhm.
on the other side of that. But sometimes I forget what that feels like. And I think like you said, maybe even just like start on the stair climber, start on a piece of equipment, like maybe walk and just look around and just see where everything is at and look at the HF Physique workout and go through it. And you could even just walk around and like, okay, I would go there for this. I would go there for this. Like that still feels really intimidating. I was talking to some women that were saying they just like to stick to the dumbbells at the gym. Like
Mhm.
just they can stay in their little corner and they feel safe there. And so if that's you right now, maybe start with the HF Physique home option because it's kind of mostly designed to use dumbbells. You could stay in a corner or you could even do the Fit Foundations option at a gym. For that, you can kind of like go get your equipment, stay in one little area, do everything. But one thing that I would challenge you is maybe look at the gym option or even look at the gym option right now. All right, what piece of machine do I want to try today? And like Marita said, like maybe it's the leg press. And that one is like one that feels a little bit safer. You add a little bit of weight, see how it feels, adjust your feet, see what feels best for you there with foot placement and just try out that machine today. Like figure out how to use that one machine today and do the rest with dumbbells. And then maybe next time maybe try the lat pull down. Like choose one machine each session that you're going to just get familiar with. Maybe even ahead of time, you ask us questions or you watch a couple YouTube videos on like how to use the lat pull down machine and just like slowly start adding in a little bit more education with each machine and you'll start to feel really confident in the gym with taking up space and like just trusting what you're doing, but not doing it all at once. I think just like this week I'm learning an upper body machine and a lower body machine and I'm going to get proficient with those and I'm going to stick to dumbbells for everything else. So yeah, I don't know, something like that can make it feel less intimidating versus looking at the whole workout and just being overwhelmed.
Mhm. Little bites. I'll tell you, no, nobody's looking at you. I've gotten stuck in a machine to the point where I've had to like flat, like wave on the like to the cameras. I'm like, someone at the desk, please come get me. My hair was trapped in a machine, but
Oh my
I've fallen
God.
over. Yeah, like
Oh,
nobody's watching.
my very first time lifting, I was a teenager and I was doing back squats. Well, I think someone left weight on the bar actually. Like some guy had lifted and they left a bunch of weight on the bar. And I just started pulling weight off the bar and I didn't know that think about I was probably 14. I was probably 15. I didn't think about it and I just was unloaded one side and the barbell flipped
Oh
off
my
the
gosh,
machine. Literally could have killed someone.
that's so scary.
Think how loud it was. I was mortified, like mortified. So, we
And
all
you
learn.
didn't die.
No one died that day. And I never stripped one side of the barbell at a time again. So,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I've
All,
always thought of
all
that.
embarrassing gym moments, it's fine.
I went to do a landmine something and I thought the barbell was mounted into the ground and at the gym I was at it wasn't and I just fell backwards with the bar. I was like, "Sweet. Done with that." It's like nobody came and asked me anything. I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
So I get like it's scary doing like I don't know. It's just our nervous system trying to keep you safe, but you're gonna be okay. And I'm a big believer in prepping ourselves out, right? Like we want to be consistent with something. It's not easy. Even someone who has like I have 10 years of macro tracking experience and I just spent my afternoon tracking, or I mean prepping out my pasta, prepping off my meatballs, prepping my veggies, prepping the things that I'm not going to want to cook in the moment. And so spending that time to kind of prep off some things that are a little bit harder for you. And I also like to think, because a lot of times clients are like, well, it's harder to hit the protein, the weekends are harder. And I'm like, okay, well, first, it's not harder because it's the same amount of effort to chew our protein as it is to chew veggies or carbs. It's just, we have to take more thought into that one. And so having those pre-prepped off, relabeling your hard into what it actually is. And then if, specifically if the weekends are an issue for you, we're going to win the weekend and make that your focus. Because I promise you, if you nail Saturday and Sunday, Monday through like Wednesday or Thursday, it'll just kind of fall into place. And so I think it's like being really honest with yourself about where your gaps are and being able to zone in on those when it comes to consistency. Um, I love the use of a habit tracker, like a visual feedback. I use expo markers on my fridge to track different things that we're doing, like as a family or just with my health and fitness goals. When it's right in your face, it's a lot easier than on your phone where you're like, oh, I haven't tracked today, and then I haven't tracked tomorrow. And it's maybe the pre-tracking. So you check off like, okay, I've pre-tracked all these days. Okay, I've hit my walks, I've gotten my morning sunlight, just the different things that make you feel best. And then this is the biggest one is creating the minimums for yourself. There has to be a bare minimum for where we're going to let that line lie. And the lower that line is, the further you are from your goals. But however, it doesn't matter as long as you have some kind of bare minimum that no matter what is going on in life, you're able to still feel your best. Because if it's something with kids, if it's something with work, just throwing yourself on the back burner isn't going to make that situation any easier. So, and I find that so interesting. And I don't know if that's just a conditioned thing from society as for women or what that is, where we just love to throw ourselves on the back burner whenever like everything goes to heck and we're like, you know what? I should just not take care of myself through this. And so having those minimums and it's, if your protein goal is 140 grams, okay, I'm gonna hit 100 or it's the space of I'm gonna hit that protein regardless. So you could pick like minimums for each thing or I think like just a couple out of all of your goals and whatever works best for your brain. But try and pick the things that make you feel your best throughout the day.
I
Uh,
think too, with like motherhood, especially, it's so exhausting. It's exhausting when they're babies because you're sleep deprived and you're so physically needed. But then as they get older, it's exhausting. Like the mental load is really exhausting, and like
mhm.
you're always thinking about what their needs are, and you're also getting them where they need to go. And there's just a lot of logistics. So mentally, it's fatiguing, and also physically, because if you're like me, you're driving a lot, so it's just hard to fit in your own stuff and prioritize yourself. But one thing I will say is it requires energy to show up for yourself. It requires energy to get a workout in. Like that requires energy when you don't have it. And so I think it almost like puts you in a deficit, but what you get back is tenfold. So I know it requires effort, it requires energy to get in my workout, maybe get up earlier and do it, or squeeze it in the heat of the day when I don't want to do it. But then I have so much more to give in all the other areas of my life. And so I think it can be so easy to just like push that to last on the list and let it fall off because it's you're already exhausted. You don't want to add another thing on your to-do list. But showing up for yourself with prepping a meal or doing a 20-minute workout, doing those minimums will help you feel so much more capable and to have so much more capacity for all the other areas of your life where you are needed. And maybe it isn't like an hour and a half that you have to yourself every day. Maybe it really is 20 minutes, but you can do a quick circuit in 20 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and like move the needle in the direction you want it to go towards building muscle and also just like having endorphins, having that hit of dopamine and and also just staying accountable to your goals and that helps really like build your own confidence too. So I think
Yeah.
it like requires of us to show up for ourselves, but then it gives back. And so just remembering that like this is gonna be hard to fit in, but it's also gonna give me more somehow. Like it's the math doesn't always equate if you try to write it out, write it on paper, but it really until you try it, like you really don't know how much it will give back to you
Mm-hmm. And
by
it's
showing.
like, I don't know, the last person on the airplane that I want tired and stressed and overworked is the captain. And I feel like, or the pilot. And that's most about like most women for their homes. And it's like you can't keep
Yeah.
putting yourself on the back burner because you're giving everyone else the least amount out of you. And then you just show your kids that that's what's to be expected in the future. And it's just the cycle has to end with us, like
Yeah.
period.
Yeah. Saying no is okay.
I think redefining, like not only picking the minimums, but redefining what actually counts because consistency is cumulative, not conditional. And so it's, walking outside when you wanted to stay in bed, that's a huge win. Just texting your coach and saying, I'm having a bad day. This isn't going to look the way I want it to, rather than just hiding under your perfection blanket. Logging food, even if it's off, just drinking a little bit of water, modified, like you said, modified workouts, just redefining what actually counts for you. Um, and when doing that, it makes it easier to stop starting and going and starting and going. And um, like if you miss a workout, it's okay. It's okay. You just pick up tomorrow. Like it's not the end of the world. You have an eight
Yeah.
week block or 6 week block. You're gonna hit that plenty of times. And I truly think that like the perfection mindset over that consistency is really just, I mean, it's a coping mechanism that keeps you from moving forward. And it really isn't perfectionism and isn't anything that served you in your past. And it's not doing much to get you further in your future. And then revisiting our whys and making sure you have a solid why. And it can start out with like, hey, I want to fit into these jeans. But like, side note, we need to throw away our clothes from high school. Like, there's no business fitting into jeans when you were 16 now. Um,
Or
but
maybe
it's
even from our 20s or
yeah.
whatever it is. Like our bodies are changing and that's okay.
Like the jeans that I can back squat double my body weight in are not the same jeans that I wore when I was younger. So, and that's a really good thing. Um, but and your why can start with like, hey, I want to look good for this thing, but keep evolving that back, pull back those layers. Why do you want to look good for, your son's wedding, or why do you want to look good for your 10-year reunion or whatever it might be? And you just keep pulling those layers back to find that emotional point because there are like obviously there's days that we're not going to want to do the things and we get so comfortable in our discomfort that just that why of like, hey, I want to look hot may not always serve us, but why do we want to? And you really bring it down. And I think, for me, for me, it started with that. And then I just kept pulling back the layers. And it was like, I never really ever felt good inside my own skin. So my version of hot may not be someone else's, but it came down to just wanting to feel at home in my body. And so, um, those whys, like the more powerful you make it, the easier it is to build your consistency in those hard moments. And I think it gives us permission to keep going in those moments that we feel like we've messed everything up, which we really haven't.
And I think that big part of that, like recognizing you haven't messed things up and you can just keep showing up and being consistent and finding ways to keep being consistent in like different forms of the, 100%, 80% in there is that identity shift, right? Like if
Mm,
you are acting as that person you want to become, you're not stressed if you miss a workout because you know that's a part of your life. You're going to fit it in throughout the week. And versus if you don't feel like you're that person, then you feel like a huge failure. And it is stop, start, stop, start. So like shifting that mindset can be everything.
I have an exercise that I have a lot of my clients do, and it's something that I did about 10 years ago, and I truly believe it was one of the pivotal points for me of changing my consistency and just changing a large portion of my life. And it you sit and you did like you go through the day in the life of who you want to be a year from now and just kind of like what her confidence looks like, how she nourishes herself. And it anytime you are not feeling it or you're relating to your old self, you have this true blueprint of who you actually are. And it's the same kind of concept if you don't smoke and you go out and buy a pack of cigarettes. Like, why are you doing that? That's not who you are. And you're like, oh, I wouldn't do that. Okay, so then like, why are we talking, why are we not going and getting our steps? And why are we not doing the things or whatever it might be? Um, but
Or
just
why are we like
having,
to ourselves negatively and labeling ourselves
that's what
or
I was thinking. Yeah.
that you would do if you know, had worked on that inner confidence and have shown up for yourself regularly.
And
Yeah.
that's a big piece of confidence. It has not much to do with the way you look. It's really, if you have a friend that's like, yeah, I'll be there and they're never there, you're not going to trust them. And it's the same thing we have with ourselves. You keep saying you're going to do things, you don't follow through. Yourself is like, okay, well, okay, you're going to do it. And then it really just wants to protect you and keep you in that circle. So when you're able to look at it as, hey, maybe that's not actually part of me. That's just me trying to keep myself safe. And I'm going to move around that and make the promises to myself to be a little bit easier. Like, okay, I want to start to run. I'm not going to I'm going to run 10 miles tomorrow. Maybe I'm going to go buy some sneakers and break them in for a walk. Like we start smaller. I just lost what I was going to say. We
Yeah,
did,
start small and like build that trust, I
there
think.
it is. Yeah.
And I think you said something on one of our previous calls about the decisions I made yesterday, I'm doing today so that tomorrow I can be like, what was that? What is that? Do you remember what that is? Because I thought it was so powerful in just showing up for yourself.
It's all the things that you do today, like you don't benefit from. It's tomorrow's you that benefits. And then today's you is making promises that tomorrow you has to uphold. But then the third day version of you gets to benefit from the second day you holding the promises of the first day you. And it's someone told me once, and it really, I think it is, and it pertains very well to fat loss, but it's like all the things that the person you want to be, all you have to consistently do those things, and about 3 weeks later, you see it show up. And we see that with the scale, we see that with a lot of things when it comes to health and fitness. And so that's really helped. I'm like, okay, we can do anything for 21 days. Like you can, and if we don't see any change, let's pivot and try something else. And it's um but just knowing that, like, okay, I'm not going to see it today. I'm not going to see it tomorrow. Not going to see it the next day. Like, it's going to be a month from now. But it's not you and it's not, you're not broken. It's just our bodies don't really want to change. And so we have to, and especially at that ground level. Ground level's hard. It's not easy. Like I'm not saying any of this is easy. However, none of it's really supposed to be easy. It's just supposed to make us the best version of ourselves. And eventually it gets easier, but hard is hard on any day. Like you go into train and you might feel more confident with your training on day 2000 than on day one, but hard is hard to make progress on any of those days. And it's just consistently talking to ourselves rather than listening to ourselves that'll help us make those changes. Um, yeah, and reducing decision fatigue. That's meal prepping, meal planning, doing things like, you spend an hour on Sunday getting everything ready for the week. I promise you, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier than like, I mean, right now it's summer, but we're still rushing off to work, getting kids to camps, getting kids here. Like, since it's summer, they're not like on their routine. So I feel like it's almost twice as much effort to get out of the house in the morning to get to different things. And but
Yeah.
my clothes have been laid out, my food's already made. I don't have to think like I don't think I would do as many things if I didn't have the pre-plan. Like I'm not just like gonna show up because I'm awesome at it. It's because I've planned to be awesome at it. I think is and that can be like a misconception that even though like you've been doing it for a really long time, that you still don't use these simple basic tools to kind of save your brain power and save yourself.
Yeah.
And then we're going to celebrate progress and not perfection. And that's like figure out where you want to land. If you're at 60%, let's aim for 70. If you're at 70, let's aim for 80. And it's, 24 days. What did I have up here? Yeah, 27 days is 90%, 24 days is 80%, 21 days is 70%. And that's, I mean, 24 days, that's you take all the weekends off and you pretty much, not that we want to do that, but like you look at it that way, like, okay, I can miss a day every week and it's not going to derail my progress at 80%. So it's not only is it a good scale and a good way to look at where you're at and how to continue to build off of that, but it's a great place to realize like, oh, if I miss a few days, it's not going to be the end all say all.
Especially when you're at 360 days, like when you come through a year.
Um, yeah. But consistency is the big, like one of those biggest things. And that's through anything. Like you look at really anything in life, whether it's fitness, it's health, it's whatever you're trying to do. And if you don't show up every single day and put just a little bit of effort, like if you wanted to learn French, you wouldn't want to expect yourself to know it tomorrow just because you've decided that now, hey, we're going to learn French. And you definitely wouldn't know it if you didn't spend a little bit of time doing it every single day. And um, we really have to assess our goals from the spot that we're in. Like a lot of times we look back at like, oh, in my 20s, I could do this. And it's like, well, that's great. We're not 20 anymore. And the consistency we could put in at 20 is not what it is today. And it's so if your goals take you 5 years to get to rather than like the 3 years, if you had that extra time, oh, well, you're going to be so freaking happy you didn't quit at year 5 rather than year 3.
And I think something that a lot of women I talk to, let's say they want to lose 20 pounds. They're like so stressed about losing that 20 pounds. But guess what? If you lose 5 pounds, you're going to feel a lot better. And then when you get to that 10-pound mark, you're going to feel so much better. So, like, don't make your goals all or nothing. Like, know that even maybe it will take 5 years to get where you want to be with your physique or with your fitness or with your health or whatever it is. But along the way, like, there are so many things to celebrate and see and take note of. And there's confidence to be built, and there's, more energy and better sleep and big wins in the gym and just trust that you've built in yourself. Like, there's so many things along the way that I think sometimes we see people before and afters or whatever, and we're like, oh my gosh, that took them that long. Like, I can't pursue that. But just knowing along the way, like you're getting little rewards that are going to keep you going. And those are, and maybe at 3 years, you're like, you know what, actually, I feel really great. And this is the sustainable place for me. I don't really want to go for like that extra 5%
Hmm.
because it's going to yield a lot more sacrifice that I'm just not willing to make at this time in my life. And I feel amazing. And like staying here is a huge win too. So
That's a
that,
big one, the maintaining the fat loss. And it's also like, if you don't get anything out of this aesthetic wise or fat loss wise, but you only feel better and internally you're healthier, like that's a really, I don't know. It's a little ridiculous if we break it down that way and you're like, but I'm going to quit because I didn't lose anything or it's taking too long. But like, oh, I'm sleeping better and I'm happier, but that's not worth it.
yeah, you can always refine the process too.
Hmm.
It's not just, oh, it worked or it didn't. So
I
That's a big
believe
one.
also like the more you aware you are like on the journey and like trying and finding what you can with kind of enjoying the process, it is so much more likely that you're also going to have success with sustain the results that you maintain or that you get. Because if you're just rushing through a process and you're not really noticing all of the other benefits and all of the other wins and biofeedback beyond like what the scale says, then when you get there, it's kind of like, oh, how did I get there? Like what will stick with you
Hmm.
is just that kind of zoomed in on this goal, but how you really got there and how you're going to sustain that kind of gets lost a little bit, I think. So I think the more you can kind of be in it, um, and really look for the biofeedback during the way of all the wins, I think you will be more successful in maintaining success, like, and continue to growing as well.
I like that. I've never heard it worded that way. That was really good. I like that a lot, the way you said that.
The Norwegian way. No,
No, you explained that very eloquently.
no, but yeah, I think there's something there.
yeah,
Yeah. I
and
tell a
like
lot of my clients I'm like, let's pick performance goals because we're going to focus on that and then the other stuff will come.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and life changes. So like you're not always going to be able to be like super zoomed in on a specific goal. So then you need to know, how did I get here? How can I take a little bit of that and this and that and take with me to kind of keep a baseline of health, I guess, to be able to put in that extra effort when you are in the position to do so. And that's then it's going to be more, it's not going to be as yo-yo-y. It's going to be more kind
Right.
of, yeah,
That's the real flex, being able to maintain all your goals.
yeah. And that's not easy.
Mm-mm. You ask
But yeah,
100 women who's lost weight, I'm sure 100 people put their hands up, and then you've asked who's maintained it, and maybe
yeah.
three. Or
Like,
it's not maintenance is the real thing.
mhm.
And that's where the like learning to have those process oriented goals is everything, because you're maintaining that process. That's where, and we can kind of close here soon, but if you sign up for the coaching, or that's where I have a hard time with like following a meal plan, or
Mhm.
we were even just discussing in our family yesterday, like GLP-1s, right? They can be life changing, or with a meal plan or with a medication or with whatever it is, where you're not focused on the process. um you're just either following something that you haven't learned anything about, or maybe applying a medication that's going to help you, but you're not doing any habits that are going to help for long-term results. Then it can be really hard when the meal plan ends, or when life changes. You don't know how to still do the thing and show up for yourself. Or maybe in the case of a GLP-1, you lose the weight, but you haven't done anything to develop habits to sustain that weight loss. So then you're relying on that forever. And so none of these things are bad, but the more that we can educate ourselves, the more we can have flexibility to be consistent long term and also enjoy the process. Like, all right, maybe you're building muscle, but you're getting really sick of a certain weightlifting movement. All right, the goal here is to build my quads. I can do these 5 other exercises and still make my programming really interesting and fun for me and get results. Same thing with your diet. I want to eat high protein. I'm really sick of this meal plan. Okay, I can think of 10 other breakfasts that are going to check the box and give me protein and give me fiber and give me volume, so that I feel satisfied throughout the day and I'm still seeing fat loss happen. So the more that you can invest in just educating yourself and learning, and also finding joy in the process, not just the result or the outcome, the more you're going to sustain those results long term. And that is the goal we have for all of our clients. So just keep showing up, keep learning, and always like be willing to find consistency and just maybe those bare minimums too. Thank you so much, Marita, for sharing.
Of course, thank you.
And if anyone has questions on this, or anyone wants little like an accountability buddy or just support in any way, reach out on the app and we're happy to help. You can also do a strategy call with one of our coaches. Obviously, one-on-one is the most beneficial way to have like an individualized strategy for your history and your life and your goals. And that's something that we love to do as well. And yeah, summer is a good time to practice. Practice while it's chaotic, and there's no better time to start than now, really.
Facts.
Thanks, everyone. Have the best
Bye.
week, and we'll see you all hopefully in the app. Have a
Bye.
good one.
Bye.